so I just have my list and shit like that of things to go about. So yeah, no, we're talking about the USO and because you've done a ton of them.
Yeah, I've done. Yeah, it's weird. I did Bob Hope's birthday in Los Angeles at the Left Factory like years ago. And I had just been back from a Japan-Korean tour, which gave me the knowledge of coining. Mm-hmm. So I had this huge audience who were all in uniform from all the branches. Uh-huh. And all the comics are trying to figure out what to get into because it's squeaky clean show. It's Bob Hope. It's real different. All the other celebrities in the world are always in there, but Bob Hope kind of like turned the room. You're like, wow, it's Bob Hope. Like, what? Yeah. And but I started out coining them. I go coin up. Uh-huh. And if I coin you and you don't have your coin, you have to buy a drink. And there's like some more rules to the coining. So each division, each branch. So like the guys that truck materials have a trucking coin. Uh-huh. The F-18 pilots have like the F-18 pilot, like Goose. And on the back would be like, love to burn and turn. So everyone's got their coin. Generals, everybody. So when I coined the room, I had like a shocking response. People just start getting up because they're mad they don't have their coins, and they're leaving the audience, and then they're coming over and putting shots and beers on the stage.
Oh, okay.
And the place is going nuts, nuts. So that's how I opened.
Yeah, what a great idea.
I had a really great set, and then I ended up doing Bosnia, Kosovo, and then this is like 9/11 happens. Yeah. So I end up over the next years, I was already cleared. So I was cleared for the Middle East. I did like 6 Afghanistan, 2 Iraq, and Guantanamo a bunch. And then, I've been in Israel. I just got back from Israel. I was in Israel. We were the first entertainment brought to recover, bring some hope and joy for October 7 family victims.
Oh, okay.
So that was pretty incredible. That was for the Kobe Mandel Foundation. So it's been a part of my whole life, which ironically was always a dream, hearing my grandfather's stories. But the hilarious part is, looking back, I realized I'm so American that part of my American dream required war.
Yeah.
I'm like, I hope a good old war shows up so I can go and fly in a helicopter because that's what I want.
Yeah.
The troops made it happen.
The great thing too about you is like that whole impromptu thing of like, I'm going to coin, like I know you probably heard like, this is what coining is. You're like, oh, okay. I'm going to fuck with that.
Yeah.
Because you're
I did not know.
Yeah.
You're on that line. I was unsure, but I'm like, I don't know how else to do it.
Yeah.
Because I have an F-bomb I want to drop, but Bob Hope's looking at me.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's the thing too, because like your comedy and how your brain works, I love it because it's like I don't know how this is gonna go, but let's give it a shot. Let's see what I like this because you're we always talk about it too. Like everyone always talks about how great you are at riffing and how reading the room and then the like crowd work and stuff like that. And it's like, it's definitely a skill and a tool that you kind of like. I don't know, man. I feel like some people are just born with it, to like learn how to bounce off and shoot back the things. Because I love the way that you're very comfortable in chaos.
That's interesting. I am.
Yeah.
That's really weird because I really do feel at my best and calmest and most focused in really high stress situations. Mm-hmm. So the Middle East taught me that. Because I was like, something's wrong with me. Mm-hmm. Because we're taking a rocket attack. And I was like, I can still think. Yeah. I can still function. And I think it's just a part of my makeup. And, as I'm approaching stage, I feel a little like caught up in the world, a little anxious.
Yeah.
But then I like smile, like I'm on the tip of the roller coaster,
Yeah.
And I'm like, and as soon as I cut through, I calm down and I like it, like, it
slows up.
Yeah. Like I can see my focus and it just feels good. And I don't have to worry about my speed, from thought to mouth, speed.
Yeah.
I can run at a full speed running the room because I don't have to explain to one individual, but
it's a wit. It's a crazy quick, wit that, like slows everything down for you. Just boom, 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 boom. Because I know most comics, the whole coin thing that you're just talking about, the example that as you're talking about, I was like, only Butch could really kind of do that because like some comics will they don't want, especially as an opener, they're like, I need to first get them. Right. How do I get them? And I'm going to get them with how I usually get them on. It's like, you know what? Fuck it. Let's see.
Yeah. Well, now you're making me realize I'm a little gambler too. Because in my head, looking back, I do remember thinking, if this doesn't work, I'm not going to be able to explain this. I don't because I don't have time. I have to do a set. But when it popped, once I'm in that free spot of following my gut or my instinct or my, we're children. We always improv. You play with your soldiers, and girls play with their dolls, and you do voices, and then you're in the car. And if I follow that stream of consciousness, it's like 90%. And on that day it worked. There's a lot of times I black out that didn't work, but I think, and then you say you were addressing crowd work. Truthfully, a lot of people confuse comedy with a trade, where at this point, years later, I realize, a lot of people think I'm going to go do that 122 times and then I'm going to be good at it. The truth is, it's not a trade. Mm-hmm. You hopefully have the gift and you can hone it and discover it. Maybe you're an incredible writer. Mm-hmm. Maybe you're so likable. Maybe you're a sitcom pro. But if you don't have that facet or the seed of stand-up comedy, sadly enough, hopefully you have the gift of knowing this isn't working, but I love entertainment.
Yeah.
And maybe you find, maybe you can't play football, but you can be a defensive coordinator, maybe sports. But a lot of people confuse comedy with a trade where they're going to sign up, get an apprenticeship, and a lot of comedy community. But comedy's like between the comedian and God. So let them figure it out.
Yeah.
I try and stay out of everybody's way because I don't know. I mean, I had a really crazy thing said to me by Richard Jeni, years ago before he passed away in Hollywood. He said, these celebrities would just grab you and you've never had a normal conversation, but they just assume like, I can just talk to you and start from 3 point of the conversation.
Yeah.
And he just turns me around. I'm like, oh my God, it's Richard Jeni. And he's like, I wasn't funny for years. And I'm like, like you have 18 HBO specials or something. And he's like, but I wrote for 8 years. And on 8 years in one day, whatever the year was he gave me like a real timeline. 8 years in one day, it all clicked in and my career took off. And I was like, that's amazing. And then he said, did you see my set? And I said, yes, I did. And he didn't believe me. And he goes, tell me about it. And then I went through his set. Thank God I'd watch.
Yeah, because comics hardly ever watch other comics after. Yeah.
You don't, right?
Yeah.
But I did because I was interested in seeing how guys like him and Chris Rock and the pros and the old school guys coming in, how they would develop things that seemed unfunny.
Yeah.
And then they would show me a diamond. So, and I told him and we sat down and discussed comedy. But that's a unique person. He wrote for years and it popped. But there are a lot of people that think it's a trade and they're going to discover it.
Yeah.
And but it's an interesting world. Crowd work is a very unique. For me, Ian Bag's incredible.
Yeah, Ian Bag's great.
Bert's decent. He's but Bert's a different entity. I love him for so many reasons.
Yeah.
But of course he could dive into a crowd. But I mean, guys who are uniquely gifted at weaving 1 minute, 2 minute, 8 minute, 9 minute, 12 minutes. Oh my God, what is happening? A set is being designed before you. Even the Matt Rifes. Matt Rife is a kind, good human, deserves all of that he's getting, but he's still so new. He's had that 40-second pop that hit and he went viral. But there's another level of designing like a store, right?
Yeah,
and you know what? I wished I could write like others, where I went in and went, I have a new 7 minutes for the Tonight Show.
Yeah.
And I'm like, my brain it has to sort of work on the moment.
I was gonna say too, like, I don't mean like comics don't watch other comics. We do, but like it just depends on like when you first started, like when you get like you're 5 or 6 years in, like you're still watching comedy, but after a while, once you know how the sausage is made, and you're like, all right, cool, I don't want to get influenced. I don't want you to influence me. All right, so it's like hard to watch other comedians too as well, and it's like, but there's comics that you do watch and that you do respect. You're like, fuck, this guy's great. Like you're one of those guys. Like people will go out, like
I appreciate it.
Yeah, because all the comics will come to your show and watch you work, and they're like, fuck, man, that's like, and it's great because like it gives everyone kind of like, I like the fact that you're around because then everyone's like, because iron sharpens iron. It's like, I gotta go home, man. I gotta feel bad. I gotta do better.
You know what's funny about that? I know when you guys or any comic shows up where they're there to see me, and I'm on stage in my zone, and I'm always like, am I allowed to curse on this show?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. You know, it's funny because I have an F-bomb there where you're like in the zone and you're like, oh, fuck, look at this. Oh, so Carlos is here. And look at these guys in the back. They're watching me. And like, you know, oh, man, I cannot drop to old material because they'll be like, that bit's been around forever. Why will he not put that to rest?
I get that
We
too.
should all meet with him and be like, we are here to have coffee. Also to ask you to get rid of the airplane bit. But when I'm up there, I take it as a compliment. But, you know, I also work like, I really go to stage differently the last 5 years, like to try and work and to do something special, to understand, to learn. So for me, it's really cool to see you guys.
Yeah.
But I feel it. I'm trying to deliver something where you guys are like, all right, this guy deserves to be spoken about in the back, you know.
It's same here. I get that in my head too.
It feels
like,
great.
Yeah.
You know, and you're an incredible comic. So if you have great
thank
comedians watching you, I take that as, you know, a wonderful moment. But I also know how quickly we can be like, yeah, I didn't look so good today. Oh, Butch Bradley in the crowd. Hey, where are you from?
Yeah.
Ohio.
I get that too, man, where it's like I'll see comics in there and I'm like, fuck, man, I can't do the set to where I can't phone it in, because there's, you know, you get to that point where, you know, you're like, okay, I could do this set and do well, but now I see people here, it's like, fuck, right now I gotta go in high risk, high reward. I gotta start gambling now. I'm gonna throw this out there.
I 100%. I'm all in. You know,
I mean, it's great to me too, because it's like it forces me to be a better comic. And it was so funny the first time I met you too, because we were hanging out. It was at the Laugh Factory, and we were hanging out, and I hadn't gone up yet, and we were having a blast. We're talking and shit, because, you know, we were very easy to talk to, and we're all talking comedy and hanging out, and then at one point you're like yeah, da 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 da. You start talking, you're like, and you know how comics are. He goes, well, I don't know about you yet. You go, I don't know about you yet. I haven't seen you perform. You're a cool guy, but I don't know if you're funny or not. I
can't help though. I feel like it's a compliment if you're in the green room and like you're a seasoned comedian. Like I was telling Matt, the owner of LA Comedy Club, I was like, he's not on my list, and he's like, what do you mean? I go, I can't play with him because I don't know if he can handle old, like the comedians that have been doing comedy for 10 plus years. I think 10 years is like the mark where you can handle me going, well, that didn't work out. Because I also love when someone calls out something I think no one saw, and then they hit me, and I'm like, oh. Ironically, my mom would be like, watch shows and tell me, you've been funnier. Did you were off. And I'm like, oh my God. Oh my God. Yeah. Like, you know, I just headlined the Tropicana Atlantic City. And my mom's like, you know, you cursed a lot. And that story's not true. Your cousin Mike is not gay. He's married. I'm like, Mom, he's gay and married. Yeah. That's none of your, this is comedy. You know, stick to your world.
You lost your place twice, I saw.
Yeah,
like, what the fuck, man?
I enjoy it though, because you know, my family, East Coast, we bust chops. That's why Ernst and I, people see us, it looks like an argument's happening, but I have a grin, he has a grin. Yeah. And I'm like, you're so Italian. He's like, yo, do you want me to go grab you a cocktail, you Irish potato eater? Like, we're just, it's an energy I love for the green room. And old school guys, man, tortured my soul. Did you bring a bottle of water out on the stage? Yes, I did. Do not do that. And then I realized years later, they're just teasing me.
Yeah, they're fucking
I'm like, I can't bring the water on the stage. Yeah. And they're like, did you put it on the stool? I'm like, yes. You know, you never put the bottle of water on the stool.
This fucking guy.
And they're like, did you wear blue? Don't wear blue. I'm like, what are these rules? I didn't know it, you know. And then I'm like, these evil sons of bitches. I can put the water on the stool. I can move the stool, you know.
And you started in Atlantic City. That's where you started.
I actually started comedy. You know, growing up in New Jersey, I was in the nightclub business. I went to college, you know, and got a marketing degree. But since I was a kid, I always knew, I always loved comedy. It was my secret, you know. But I had so much respect for it. I never would want to air that out, to think that I could be one of these incredible artists, you know, like my legends, you know, Pryor and Rodney and original SNL and, you know, that world. And so I had a job, and I burnt out. So I thought, you know, as they were offering me a new nightclub in Boston, I was like, you know, I could easily get a job I don't like. I should hurry up and do something I may love. So I moved to Boston. I got a bartending gig at Foxwoods Casino. My mom was a boss at Foxwoods. She opened Atlantic City Resorts. Okay. Years later, I'm in my late 20s, and my mom got me a gig there on bartending. And strangely enough, by the way, I'm American Indian. That's how I got the job. I know, live with it. You'll figure it out. Thanks, Dad. 25%er, baby. Yeah, this is confusing. Yeah. But so I got hired by Foxwoods. I bartended, and I started doing open mics in Boston and watching guys who were like 6 and 7 years ahead of me, like Patrice, Bill Burr, Dane Cook. They were at my first open mic. Oh. The host was Billy Martin, who was in blue jeans and a torn shirt and murdering. He becomes the head writer, executive producer still today of the Bill Maher Show. Oh, okay. So that is my first peak at the sold out Nick's Comedy Stop in Boston, just because that's what the audience looked like. Uh-huh. And like Patrice and Bill, and I'm nauseous, dreaming about leaving, remembering stories that Seinfeld said how he came in under a false name in case.
In case?
Well, I blew that. I'm in as Butch Bradley. Yeah. I'm like, And I went over to Patrice and Bill Burr, who I didn't know, but they looked like they knew what they were doing. Mm-hmm. Patrice was the big guy, looked like him. Bill Burr looked so young. Yeah. And I said, hey, do you have any advice? And Patrice leaned back and goes, you're going to eat it. And I realized he lifted up to laugh. He knew he was going to laugh so hard. And he laughed into the sky. And I shattered, and Bill Burr went, and I walked away. But Dwayne Perkins was there. I love you, Dwayne. He was like one of the guys in my original beginning. Just such a nice guy. And he's like dancing. And I'm like, are you been doing this a while? He goes, I'm kind of new. He goes, you're going to do fine, man. You're going to do fine. And I was like, really? Then they called my name. I went deaf. I looked it up. It really happens. I couldn't hear, but I kept walking. But when I got to the mic, I had my first real spiritual experience. Everything sped up to the moment, and I was like, ooh, I'm supposed to be here.
Yeah, yeah.
So I had a great first set. Then I had like 2 years of hell.
Just up and down.
Yeah, because I would improv. I didn't know we were supposed to write everything down. I didn't know.
Didn't know either.
And then like 2 years in, I'm with all the Boston comics, and they all had notes. And I go, you all have notes. I felt like they cheated. Yeah. And they go, that's what it is about you we couldn't figure out. You come in and just dialogue. And I'm like, by accident.
Yeah.
By accident, you little secret keepers.
Same thing, because like I would watch Def Comedy Jam and Comic View and all that stuff, but Martin Lawrence never did the same set. I would watch because he was hosting. And then when you brought people on again, they never did the same set. So my brain was like, oh, you do different sets, or you do different things. You go up every time for like the first like 4-6 months, eating shit too, but sometimes good, sometimes bad, but still. But yeah, then I think that kind of helped us later on.
It helped later.
Yeah, because you were saying something that...
It comes around if you're improvisationally trying to think, and then you add material, you probably experienced it.
Yeah, because, so like you were saying, I always say it too, because Bert, I'm bringing Bert back to Bert, the stream of consciousness. He was like, one time we were doing a show at Laughs Unlimited, and he goes... I was eating shit because I had my first heartbreak, and I just ate shit. And he was like, "No, dude." He was like, "You're fucking. That's fucking great." He goes, "All this fucking shit is fucking so great." And he goes like, "You're gonna He says, you have something that this other, because the other guy that was on the show, he was like, he's a writer and he's going to have a writer's block at some point. It's going to be really hard for him. He goes, your thought process is funny. He goes, your stream of consciousness, once you figure out how to get people on your magic carpet and start going, it's going to be so fucking, it's going to be fun. He goes, don't worry about it. Don't worry. And then one of my biggest regrets, because that was like, I came back for a year,
so
1 or 2.
Cool that you had a healthy comedian like Burt Kreischer see your talent.
Yeah.
Billy Martin from that hosting did that to me.
Yeah.
Those seeds help you go.
Yeah. And he was like, and my biggest regret is that after that weekend, he was like, I need a feature for improv in Florida. So, yeah. And I was like, I'm like a year and a half back, because I took a 9-year break, 8 or 9 year break. And he goes, He says, "You want to come?" And I go, "I lied. I go, I have work and they won't let me go. But I should have went because I thought in my head, I don't have 25 minutes.
Yeah.
And I don't want him to see that I don't have 25 minutes.
Yeah.
But now, as an older comic, now who I am, I was like, he wasn't caring that I didn't have 25 minutes. He was going to help me get 25 minutes. But then I ended up running into him on the road back and forth. He's always like, yeah, fuck yeah. He's like, fuck.
He's a good dude.
Yeah.
I got to do, probably one of the most challenging sets in my entire career was headlining with 3 headliners, me, Ian Bagg, and Burt Kreischer at the Tempe Improv. It's sold out, and all 3 of us are just totally cool. 3 unique personalities. I'd say Burt is the easiest to get along with out of the 3 of us. You know? Ian and I both have our quirks. You know, Burt's like shirt off. How do you boys want to do this?
Let's fucking.
And Burt was just really great. No one knew he was going to take off. Like everybody was just a great comic, you know.
Yeah.
And but we switched every night, and all 3 of us. We never spoke, but everybody went into the crowd. Everybody did crowd work. Everyone had a completely fresh, driven set nightly out of the crowd from different spots.
Yeah,
I got to say it was incredible for me to do well in that setting. At all this, like all 3 of us did amazing, and the other 2 were always off stage, like watching sports. Like, oh shit, shit, I'm next, shit. Or then boom, and you had to close.
Yeah,
and then who knows? You're like, tomorrow I'm in the middle. The next night I'm hosting, thank God, because we were trying to get the crowd before they got them. But it was incredible, and we all murdered, and it jumps you levels. But he's a good dude. Burt Kreischer, great guy. I was lucky because Hollywood was filled with those guys. But Burt and I, first time we met was Tempe Improv. And he took his shirt off at a bar, and he told me how he was Van, the character.
Van Wilder, yeah,
Van Wilder. Before anyone knew about it, he's like, 10 years ago, there was an article about me, and it was interesting because I ended up being called by E, and I went out and hosted Spring Break for National Lampoon and interviewed the Van Wilder cast. And I'm like. And he's a huge star now. Ryan
Reynolds.
The guy's like
Deadpool.
His improv is so beastie. We were improving and playing in the interview, and I go, I met Burt Kreischer, the guy that's really you, and it was just an interesting moment in comedy where I end up at this place with this movie Van Wilder, which was interesting. It was doing okay, but it takes off, and then Burt becomes Burt, and Ryan, it's just those wild little tidbits of joy comedy give you,
It was funny because I met him like, I think this is the last time I ever performed at Laughs Unlimited because it was owned by this owner. The owner now is Jenny Cannonfield. She's great. She's awesome. But the owner prior to that, he was one of those guys where it's like checks are bouncing and shit. And so this was kind of his last time he was ever there. And it was during a time where I think he even talks about it too a couple of times about how like it was one of those moments where he's like, should I still do stand-up comedy? Because he was in where he's at now. But like fast forward to like 2-3 years later, it's like boom, he just takes off.
I burned all the ships at the shore, just like Alexander the Great. And I don't have his army, but I'm here to fight.
No, and then
I have no choice. I go to stage every night. This is what I do.
And you're here in Vegas. And that was another thing too. The move from East Coast to here. How long have you been here?
So it really was a different move. It's hard to follow like how careers go. I started in Boston. I did not start in New Jersey. And then as I started in Boston, I was working Portland, Maine, and New England, had a great scene for openers and middlers. They were real rooms the Boston comedy headliners are like legends.
Like Larry Clark.
They're from the 1977 to 1981, launched the scene, the Stephen Wrights, Lenny Clarks, the Tony V's, the Kevin Knox, the, Ken,
Peter Gallagher.
Yeah, there's a group of about 8 that there's a documentary about in Boston. I think it's when comedy stood up. I forget what it's called.
Something like that. Yeah, when comedians.
The Boston comedy documentary. Find it. Just Google it. But I didn't know they were all who they were. I just couldn't believe the host.
Joey, can you find out what it's called?
Was the host was like, it's when Boston stood up, or it's Lenny Clarkson. It's a Boston documentary.
He can look up anything all the time.
Thank you, sir. Great. Yeah, but those. those guys were all murderer hosts. So they were making us all better, and I didn't know why until years later. So I start in Boston, then I leave Boston, go to Portland, Maine, because I was in a Boston improv group called the ID. While I was doing open mics, the ID blew up. Comedy Central recognized us. It was me, Al Del Benny, who's in Australia, Dane Cook's best buddy.
Okay.
What is Ben's last name? I forget his last name right now, but Brett Duggan, and Ben Jones. An incredible group. They were all at Emerson training in theater and could play any instrument. Okay. And Al just come from Al and the Monkeys, which was Dane Cook's group. Al and the Monkeys was at Dane, Bobby Kelly.
Bobby Kelly, yeah.
Yes, so I had one of those guys. So real quickly, the ID and I went to Maine. Bob Marley, a famous comic, went to L.A.
Funny.
So I saw the gap. I made the improvisational gamble. I knocked on the owner's door at the Comedy Connection in Portland, this guy Ollie, and I said, hey, I'm here. I have an improv group, and I've got 25 minutes. He's like, wait, stop. You moved here? I'm like, I moved here. He's like, from Boston? I'm like, yeah. He's like, what do you, like, I go, I know Bob left. You're going to need a host. I go, and the ID, we can do Wednesday nights. We can bring all these, like, I had this big pitch. And he started laughing, and he goes, and you think you have 20 minutes? And he's laughing. We're going to find out tonight. And I'm like,
I wasn't ready.
And he worked me for like 2 hard years. Every night he let me grow and learn. And Bob would come home, and all those headliners were coming through.
Yeah.
And the ID and all of it. And then one day Bob Marley was like, you should go to LA now. You're good enough. You have 20 minutes. You're funny.
Yeah.
You should go. And in between 2000 and 2001, after about 3 years of comedy, I was like, hockey bag gone. And I went to LA. That's what happened. I was there for 12 years touring. And then I, by luck, got the Atlantic City in Las Vegas because someone in Atlantic City, thank you, New Jersey, went, you should look at this guy.
Yeah.
And I was new, but that guy also, Bob Kephart, gave me a ton of work. And that's how I started to get to know Vegas. So I was headlining Vegas like in 2002, very young.
Oh, okay.
And it was just because someone loved me and believed in me and just put me in there. And I got beat up every night and got better and got better and got better. And that's this whole run,
That's what I love about like seasoned comedians or comedians that like really went through the whole thing. And like, I'm not knocking too much on these new kids too much, but like it's like, you don't even understand. You haven't even seen everything yet, and you're so little. So like you're talking about, like, I feel that hosting is a really important part.
It's an art.
Yeah.
And back to that, I realized that. I'm glad you said that, because all of those guys, and what was that documentary called? Oh, okay. Well, all of those headliners, like Lenny Clark and all of these guys out of Boston, were hosting. So as I traveled around the country, I did not understand why all the hosts were such shit comics. I was in shock.
Yeah.
I realized my skill level was better because of those Boston murderers. They hosted all the open mics.
Yeah.
So Vinny Favorito and Lenny Clark and what was it called?
When stand-up stood out?
When stand-up stood out.
Yeah.
So I watched this documentary 12 years in and catch up to speed with the Tony V's and the Kenny Rogersons and the, all these comics that I was blessed to learn under. So back to you, these young hosts don't know.
Yeah.
It's an art. You have to be incredible at that job before you become a feature.
Yeah, and stop talking to the fucking audience.
Well, right, because crowd work is an experts-only game.
Yeah.
It's not, crowd work, see, what they don't realize is if they go in a couple times without the safety net of a Rolodex of hours and hours of material, they're burning the crowd.
Yeah.
So now the crowd has no training. You tell a joke, they listen. You're training them as a host. You're welcoming, that's a hard word, welcoming them to the party. And you got to get them going and hello. Now you could say hello. Now, if you're a major killer, if you're hosting, you know what you're doing. Oh, that fell, but she's a teacher. My cousin was a teacher.
Yes.
They don't understand that.
Yeah.
So it was shocking to me that in my career coming to LA Comedy Club, I actually, for the first time ever in my whole year of my whole life of headlining, I had to say, hey, you guys got to stay out of the crowd.
Yeah.
Because back to what you're saying, these guys they did not get our lessons.
Yeah.
They learned here in the city, or they learned wherever they were. There was a pandemic. They didn't have old school guys going, you went over 5 minutes, don't come back for 3 months.
Yeah.
That's what they would say.
Yeah.
They would like literally go, get out, don't come back. And if you came back, they were like, this dude showed up again. They're like, hey, Butchie, you're going up. I'm like, oh, shit. Okay, all right, man. And then this major headliner would do 10 minutes. And the train's rushing me, and I can't get off the track.
Yeah.
And I would learn, and I would learn, and I would learn. But these guys, in their defense, being so confused by the new comedians, I realized they don't know.
No.
They also don't know the industry.
Yeah.
So if the industry sees you put up these sets of 2 and 3 minutes on TikTok where you're eating shit and you think it's funny in your 2 to 5, 6 year comedian brain, people who scout you go, this guy is not good. They missed Hollywood, where you don't put anything up unless you're killing and it's clean and it's A, B, C, D. And if you want to go to Matt Rife's Cookie MILF, that was a comedian who's been working for 12 to 15 years as a child, who nailed his moment and killed it. And thank God the angels were like, let the world see it. Matt, you have been welcomed to bring hope to the others who are borrowing money to pay rent.
No shit.
That's a hint, Matt. That's a hint. Borrowing. It's not a lot of rent. You can afford it. Both of us, by the way. Between both of us, you can spare $4,000, you cheap fuck. No. But, you know, he nails his cookies and MILF, and then these young guys just don't know. They need to learn the material. They need to, because when you audition, when I audition regularly, which they don't know, I go to Hollywood, I need 4.5 minutes. I need to AGT, whatever it is, 4.5 minutes. That's with laughs. Hey, how are you? This is my story. This is who I am. Blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
And I need to be calm and cool and deliver, not clip after clip of shit.
Yeah.
Where are you from?
Yeah.
How you doing?
Bunch of talking.
And they're drinking, you know, like they have 5 drinks in, half a joint in, and and you're like, I want to tell you, but you're going to tell me I'm an asshole.
Yeah. Dude, you know what's funny? You just mentioned that about the drinking thing too. I remember one time I did an audition where I went up and I had a really good set, to the point where the headliner took off during my set, because it was an audition. It was like an off night, like a Wednesday, Thursday, or something like that. And so, because I was auditioning for feature at this club, the other guy was for host, and the other guy was for headliner. But anyway, so I have a good set. He takes off, and then he comes back. He didn't see what happened. Ooh. So he comes back, and he's like on stage, and he's got his little drink, and he's being cute and stuff like that, and he is eating shit for the first 10, 15 minutes.
What you dialogued about.
Yeah, because all of and that was the thing too. It's like, oh, this guy's from he's not ready to be a headliner, but he thinks he is, and he's got an agent and a manager because he had like 7 cute minutes, and now it's like, oh fuck, he just went after someone that's been on the road and has a gear and knows how to read the room. And I ended up getting not only I got headliner work after that. They were like, we're like, okay, we're gonna bring you in as a headliner now. I'm like, that's fucking dope. Yeah, because of just the whole Mr. Miyagi shit, the whole like you do this to do that to get this way.
This, if you're watching and you're new, is what I've tried to tell everyone. If you grind and you kill and you have your sets organized, because that's all I ever knew. How did I get to Headline Vegas young? I was grinding and working every day. This is my workout gear. By the way, I forgot about this podcast. When I get up early. I get up between 8 and 9. I have 2 Dobermans deliberately because I don't trust me. Because I'm a comedian and I'll sleep till 3 o'clock. I'll eat a pizza. I'll vomit. I'll play a video game and I won't be ready for work. So I get up. I go to the gym now. I take the dogs. They make me work. And I grind and prep my notes and my stuff. If you guys grind and prep, what I've said to guys is, if they're like, well, I should feature, I should close. The last time you were up, was the feature able to follow you? Yeah. What does that mean? Did the feature have a hard time? Did the closer have a hard time? Well, no. Well, then you're not there. This industry,
they'll tell you.
The audience, everyone, including the guy that you bury, will go, holy shit. Tim Walco, Chicago headliner, monster legend, is why I got to Headline Vegas. Because I went up and I was on fire and I'm memorizing and I'm killing. And he had a guitar, and he is one of the best. They're like a murdering comedian. And when he came off, he was soaked in sweat, and he was there was a phone in the green room at the Laugh Factory now in Trop. And he picked up the phone to call the manager, and hey, hello, can you connect me to the owner? No, but I thought I was in trouble. And he goes, Kephart, this fucking Butch Bradley guy is not a feature. I was like, my career's over.
Yeah.
And he goes, he's a headliner. I'm fucking soaked and sweating. What the fuck? And he looks at me and he goes, this is a compliment. Because I was the guy getting punched.
Yeah.
But I'm still new. And I go, oh, doesn't feel like
Doesn't
it.
sound like it.
And then Bob Kephart was like, good job, buddy. Good job. And, but Walco, soaked in sweat, was like, don't relax, man. I couldn't believe how hard I had to work to get my show. Incredible job. I don't want to fucking deal with you anymore. And it was a compliment.
Yeah, it is a compliment.
But it's what you're saying. They saw that in you. Hard work and the crowd will always be there. Intellectually, you should be smart enough. And if you're 10 plus years in comedy, dialoguing with the audience should be a part of your facet and your arsenal. But it's knowing the set and changing with having the material, talking about you, having it, planning it, understanding the time in between the jokes. I mean, Brian Kiley, head writer of Conan, 4 to 5 hits a minute. I can tell you, I was in Israel with him 3 weeks ago, him and Peter Berman. I never can watch. I had to watch because there's a war. Yeah. All these elements are against Brian. Brian is killing. Boom. 5 hits a minute. I've been doing comedy 20 plus years. I'm like, this is incredible. I don't understand this. How is this man able to write so many jokes so quickly? And there's a war and they're they're healing. Yeah. And it's 1,500, 2,000 people in theaters. And he's up front just destroying. Boom. But I had to see it because I have to educate myself.
Yeah.
And also,
you get excited too.
It made me feel good. In a very scary, high level comedy situation, I was like, he's making me feel like a kid. He's reminding me it's just a goofy joke. And that we tell jokes and we pay bills with fucking jokes. As Tony Rock always said, Butch, you like this? Yeah. Jokes bought it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Thought
process.
Yeah, but like you got to do the work. And a lot of what I've said here, off of riffing about who they are. These guys don't have those lessons. So I've been lucky enough to try and the guys listening to I don't have advice to give you.
Yeah.
Because I'm learning. I'm a student, perpetual student of stand-up.
Yeah.
And I haven't reached a place that I feel perfectly about. And that will never go. That's why I'm a stand-up.
Yeah.
Because true stand-ups don't have a choice. I know I could have been an incredible lawyer. I couldn't have been a doctor because my handshake, I would have killed thousands. And I love caffeine. I've quit everything else, but fuck you if you touch my coffee.
Yeah.
I'm like, fuck the guy, let him die. Next patient.
Yeah.
But, but I have to learn, and I keep going and grinding, and that's why I'm surviving.
Yeah. Because you were saying too, like, because you're a good guy as well, and that's one thing too. I like to. I
try to be.
Yeah, because everyone has a good.
I've never been behind you in traffic.
well, most people no one really has a bad word to say about you. All the time when you come up in conversations, it's like fucking Butch is great and stuff like that. And like you just said too, even when you're doing well and killing, like the guy doesn't want to talk shit, but he's like, and I try to do the right thing all the time. Try to be a good guy, and I had a situation too where, the headliner couldn't follow, but it wasn't because he wasn't good. It's just that our energies were different. And
well, if they're not doing their homework and you come along squeaky sharp,
because it was but he was great. The dude was great too because he was like, they were gonna switch us, and
pay attention, young comics.
Yeah,
the switch is a big moment.
Yeah, they were gonna switch us.
They pull you off whoa.
Yeah, they were like, so you're gonna close now, and I was like, I go, no. I go, I don't want to do that because I felt like it was super disrespectful. I was like, oh, and the guy knew too. I don't think he even cares. Hopefully, he doesn't care if I mention.
No,
this.
don't mention. Okay, his name. No, he cares.
Yeah. So what happened was, so then I end up saying no. I go, no. I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that. So they go, okay. And then so we just kept going. And all I did was just dial it down. I go, I don't have to be all crazy. So I dial it down. We finished out the rest of the week. And he tells me at the end of the week, he was like, that was an honorable move you made about the whole switching thing. And I go, yeah, no, I don't want to do any of that, man. That would suck, And then so later on, like maybe a couple years later, I'm going down to LA, which I hardly ever go down to LA because I was just like, I wanted to do the road. I was so happy about that. But then there was a TV show that was being produced at a comedy club, and he was the host, and apparently he couldn't make it that week. So he found out that I was on the thing, and he says, "Give this guy Carlos, let him host, and pay him the extra money that you paid." So I got to host the whole TV show.
Oh wow, cool.
Yeah. So it all came back full circle just because I did what I thought at the time was the right thing.
It is honorable because and these stories, like I don't take them lightly because I'm a guest in comedy's house. Like people, and I do believe comedy's between you and God.
Yeah.
So, it could be any day.
Yeah.
I think like I treat every day like I see these young guys who are working and grinding, and and there's some really great comics like Jocelyn Sharp's crushing it.
Great. She's great.
I've just watched her grow so much. She's got such a unique thought. Her comedy's important. She tells about herself and life. I just thoroughly enjoy her road and how she's figured it out. Stephen Roberts is killing it. There's just a lot of guys. Mike Krasner.
Yeah.
But I don't take them lightly.
Stephen Roberts fucking crushed the other day at the LA Comedy Club.
I keep an eye on him.
Yeah.
I told him, I'm like, you're a hair away.
Yeah.
I'm like,
He had just come back from doing the Comedy Corner or Looney's over in Colorado Springs. He was over there. Yeah. So, and then he came and did the Sunday. And I think I took over. I think it was for you. I think, was I taking over for you? Or I can't remember.
Maybe.
But anyways, he featured.
I might have been in Israel. Was that
it was not too long ago. And I was like, he got off. I was like, hey, man. I was like, all right, okay, I see you. Yeah. I was like, let's get ready. I started, getting pumped up. But I was like, fuck, man, he killed the whole room for the whole time. Yeah. It wasn't a lull. And I was like, oh, he's.
I know. So that when you hear that sound, because I don't listen to dialogue, I can listen to the sound through the wall.
Yeah.
So I know, voice, response, and I know the time on how well they're doing. I can hear the speed in which it's growing and how long the laughter lasts. That's what I prefer to do. Yeah. If I know, first I watch to hear what your dialogue about. And then because 90% of comics have the same dialogue every evening. So I watch them once or twice. And then, in Vegas, I'll probably know you somewhat. But on the road, I watch like once or twice.
Yeah.
But when I I know you're coming. So I'm come and get it because I don't take that lightly. The dudes who start settling in and they got the cocktail and I'm like, dude, because they get into Vegas Monday, Thursday they're slow. Now Friday's here. Now there's Stephen Roberts and the Krasners and the Jocelyn's are like, come on, bitch. Welcome. Welcome to Vegas.
I'm lucky that I'm sober. I don't drink anymore or do any drugs or anything anymore. So it's like, when I would headline and stuff like that, I was like, oh, these guys are fresh. They're ready. Their legs are under them. I was like, all right, well, me too. Let's fucking go. And you're right. I do. Like, I will watch sometimes too, just like really like gaze over it, just to also read the room and see how they work the room. Because like Jocelyn's great too, because she doesn't look like she's performing. She just looks like she's like comedian. Like you get to that point where it's like you're talking and you're comfortable and you own the stage. And I was like, oh, okay, perfect. And then the whole thing about hosting too, what I was gonna say too about the hosting thing. When you're talking about the older guys that taught you, the guy that taught me how to host, they fired their original host, and he was like, it was between me and this other kid, and I was at a Kanye West concert, and I wanted to get in this comedy club so bad. This is like when I came back, and this is the first comedy club that I can get into, and they go, hey, whoever makes it down to the comedy club first gets the gig for the weekend. So I leave the concert. I gave the keys to my brother, and I was like, yo, here's the house keys. I gave the house keys, and I go, I'm gonna take the car. I was like, da-da-da-da. I run down there. I get there. It's a guy. His name is Stephen Brewster, and he's from Stephen Brewer, and he was from Detroit. And do you know Stephen Brewer?
No, I just love this story.
Yeah. So Stephen Brewer, and he had his feature's name was John Uberoth. And John Uberoth apparently used to open for Robert Schimmel all the time. That was his guy.
Wow, dope.
So I get there and he goes, do you know how to host? And I go, yeah, I know how to host. And he looked at me, he's like, you don't know how to fucking host. And I go, I don't think I do.
I just left the Kanye concert.
And he goes, listen, this is the thing about hosting. He goes, comics, you guys think, especially young comics, you think the whole thing's about your set. He goes, hosting's not about your set. And he goes, here, I'm going to teach you. Here, we're going to get a little crash course. He goes, because the guy that before, he just wouldn't fucking listen. You could listen at least, right? And I was like, yeah. And he goes, all right, cool. He goes, you ever throw a party? And I go, yeah, I threw a party. And he goes, like a house party like in high school? And I go, yeah. And he goes, and you want your party to be the fucking shit, right? And I go, yeah. He goes, you don't want people talking shit about your party. And your party has to be so good. They're mostly on Saturdays, Friday or Saturdays. They got to be so good. They got to be talking about it on Monday when they get back to school. He goes, so how do you do that? He goes, you fucking be a good host to the whole fucking party. He goes, bring them all in. Bring them in. Hey, guys, how you doing? What you call it? Show them where their seats are at. Hey, everyone.
Yeah, right.
Bring them in. Hey, hey, there's if you got to make your announcements or mix it in there as you're having a little talk, a little dialogue, you don't have to be funny yet. All you got to do is be welcoming. And he goes, blah, blah, blah. He goes, and the drinks are over here. As a matter of fact, there's a special on it. You guys, this is great. I used to drink a lot. I don't drink anymore because last time I got a little crap. He goes, as a matter of fact, here's a little story that I'll tell you really quick, and And he goes, if you like that story, you're gonna love this next story. This guy comes from Comedy Central. His name's John Roth. Give a big round of applause. And I was like, oh shit. He goes, yeah. He goes, it's just a party, and just invite people in and just be like, well, he goes, you're not the name of the show. He goes, but you're the face of the show. And he goes, and then you get to come back out, and then and they still like it. They still like it. Just get to be likable, and then you could start saying whatever you want after a while. And I was like, okay. And then like as I'm realizing all this stuff later on too.
Wait, that anyone should listen to. Yeah. That should be cut out and literally put comic lesson number 1.
Yeah.
That was brilliant.
That's exactly how he taught me.
That lesson is for every host in the business, especially in Las Vegas. This has to be seen and heard. Please watch this. Yeah. Actually, if you're ever on my show, ever in any of my spots, if you haven't watched this, you're being kicked off. Yeah, you have to watch this in order to host my show. Yeah. It's a new rule. It's called the Carlos rule. It's the fucking Carlos rule. And when you get in the green room, if I hear you're hosting, I'm going to go, tell me what Carlos told you.
Yeah, right?
That is a rule. This is a fucking rule for now on.
It was interesting. It was so interesting because then I was like, okay, well then I won't, like, I'm not going to go. He goes, because you think you go up there, you recite your set. He goes, and you just kind of eat it because you're,
yeah.
He goes, you got to get, like you said, get him comfortable. Train him.
Part 2.
Yeah, train them. And then so I started realizing after a while, like, because it was true. And then he goes, whatever you do as a host is going to make you a better headliner.
And what's it do? It builds for the feature because we're on a show.
Yeah, it's a show.
So the feature goes up and does even better.
Yeah.
Then you go out and in between, roll it over with your beautiful party silhouette. Here's the party. Boom. Let the headliner kill. And guess what? Every headliner knows if he has a great show, thank God for that host.
Yeah,
because the host sets the party tone.
Yeah.
It is so awesome to hear that said because I've heard that, but it wasn't described so well. Like Michael Robertson, up and coming killer comedian.
Yeah.
The guy's likability is terrifying.
Yes.
I went to a karaoke here in town. There's so much talent in Vegas. Like you're at karaoke and you're like, I'm lucky to have a job. Like for real.
Yeah.
Like he's just being likable, like you're saying, and I'm like, this guy, I gotta get another special before this kid fucking
a little
gets
bit of
me.
that fairy dust too. This
Fairy dust, right?
Yeah.
Why are you so happy, young comedian? Yeah.
For reals.
Yeah, he's one of those dudes who he's bringing that spot like that.
The crazy thing about like when people like they don't believe me about the host because everyone's like they want to get out of the host position so fast, and it's like you need to stay there because like I stayed there for a good 5 maybe 7 years almost because I was like I don't want to go on the road until I'm super ready and I have the fucking I have 35 minutes and then so but like everything that I learned being a host, it helped me out immensely as a headliner because it all comes back. So it's like you deal with a cold crowd. And then, so there's people, or they're talking, or they're trying to figure out what they want to eat. At the end, as your headliner, they're talking and they're figuring out the check. So that early host type of thought process works at the very end of the thought process, and then also too like. When they come in, they're talking to each other because they're just finally seeing each other. And then at the end, they're talking to each other because they're drunk as fuck. And they start. So it's like you learned how to put out these small fires up here. So now you know how to do it even better as a headliner or get over through it. So it's all wax on, wax off shit. And then like you're saying too, and the whole time thing too, getting better at I feel like I'm a big proponent. Like I learned as the older guys told me they did fuck with me too. But then the whole rules were like, hey. You don't go into the crowd because the crowd is mine. I'm here for an hour. So I might need to at some point I need to reset. So I might go into the crowd and just change the tone because I might have them up here, but I can't have them up here at 100 miles per hour for the whole 60 minutes because then I got a second show and I don't want to tire myself out. So I need to cut it up. So don't be in the crowd. All right. So I didn't touch crowd work. And also too, this is something I'm starting to see a lot lately. Is the host will come up after the headliner and do a joke or still do a little bit of stuff, and it's like, no,
that's an immediate fire.
Yeah,
so there are a lot of things that happen where they used to be immediate fires. That's an immediate fire.
Yeah,
partying coming in like you're not even in the club. You've been doing open mics for 3 years. You're not a comedian yet. You may be, but I'd be cautious with that language and wordage and coming in. Owners see you drink and smoke, whether you know it or not. Why do I know that really well? Because I would have cocktails. I never drank at the clubs. And then, then I started having cocktails at the clubs. Then I didn't. I have like cycles. I'll go to the dirty little bar with the comics after or somewhere. And now I don't drink it all anymore and sober as well. But, it's so funny. The voice is like, you don't know, maybe tonight's the night. Maybe you're back. You don't miss me? My name's Jameson. I do miss you. Slancha. But I don't miss being sick. But if you're partying with the owners in front of them, this is so weird. Only 3 months after I was like on my new life trajectory, which was still hurt, like my soul was like, this sucks. Too much reality.
Yeah.
The owner stepped next to me and went, in the club room, in the packed room, he goes, look at so-and-so. He goes, it's Friday, and they're exhausted. And I'm like, he goes, he's been drinking and smoking all week. And in my head, I'm thinking, with you. But, and then he's like, I don't know if he's going to make it to Saturday. I'm already thinking about switching into a stronger feature. But this privilege conversation, I thought, I bet this was me last year. Maybe he was like, oh, Butch looks a little tired.
Yeah.
So they watch, they learn, they dialogue. And for the higher level gigs, or maybe you get blessed with a last minute Brad Garrett called for some crazy high level corporate. And he goes, go murder that.
Yeah.
And here's some here's an audition. I got my audition for Reagan, the movie with Dennis Quaid. I was ready to rock. Thank God. Thank God. Because I was with all celebrities. And, 5 years ago, I would have been having a glass of wine like, Dennis, what are you up to? What's going on? Yo, you want to go out after? Maybe we'll shoot some pool. Butch.
I know places.
Hey, Butch, I'm trying to relax and write. Why are you in my room? Oh, door was cracked, Dennis. Door was cracked. I'm just having cocktails. Don't be such a bitch. Why are you being a bitch? Oh, fuck you, Dennis. Fuck you. Fuck you. And then I wake up, red wine, in jail. You were fired from Reagan yesterday.
Yeah. Dude, the story, that's how it goes, dude. Like, when you play it out, you're like, fuck.
But they're watching. That's the whole point.
Yeah.
Bookers and owners, don't drink with them, don't party with them. Go party somewhere else. Like hide your secrets.
Yeah. Well, that was the thing too that I learned for me, this is all just off my experience and stuff like that. The whole like as the host, don't try not to curse and try not to get too dirty, because that's not.
Yeah, you should work clean in the beginning. You know,
Yeah.
I mean, the only thing I do is curse. I think only you do is a little cursing.
Yeah, because it taught me later on. Because there's that old saying: you can't clean up a dirty joke, or you can't dirty up a clean joke, or something. Or you could dirty up a clean joke, but you can't clean up a dirty joke. Yeah, so it's like
so funny how hard that was for me to understand.
I know, right?
I'm like, what he said.
Yeah,
that's vrai.
Well, and it gets to the point to where it's like even like Matt one time hit me up because I'm Matt's great, cool.
Matt, the owner of LA Comedy.
Yeah, like
he's great.
We have an open dialogue a lot too. It's like because I remember one time he wanted to come up and talk to me. He wanted to be like, because I was saying bitch a lot because I was hanging out with my dad, and I said, and me and my dad's always, hey man, fuck this fucking bitch all the fucking time. So he says bitch a lot, and so I was imitating him, and I was on stage doing his impression, and then after a while, his impression kind of like started seeping into just me regularly talking.
Yeah.
And he goes, you're saying bitch a lot, man, and I go, I know, huh? And I go, I don't mean to. And he goes, because you're not. There's no need for it. You're not a dirty comic. And I go, you're right. I'm not a dirty comic. And I was like, something like, just for him to be comfortable enough to tell me, hey man, hey, you're not, you're better than that. I know that you're better than that, and so like I'm happy and grateful for sometimes when I do hang out with the owners. But like I said, I don't fuck and drink with them or anything.
Well, if they hear it, it means it became gratuitous because when you're having a set and maybe things happen. I've said F-bombs before, and people are like, incredible set, it's all clean. But maybe, you slipped into that.
Yeah.
And then there are artists, like comics, that dialogue about sex and, life, and it's higher level.
Yeah.
That there is higher level real talk. The guys that discuss, like, real sensitive topics are the best of the biz.
Yes.
You hear abortion or sex or murder or like all these crazy topics. You should be at the so experienced to dialogue. So there are comics and people are like, well, what about so-and-so? He was dirty. Yeah, he was a 25-year pro.
Exactly.
And he knew how to discuss his sexual relationship. And when he said it, it was hilarious.
The way about the degree of difficulty to get to the joke and pull it off. That's where
don't bring the obvious,
low-hanging fruit shit.
Yeah, like you got to, if it's your story, tell it slowly. And, get in there. But the gratuitous, it's great that he was cool enough to let you know.
Yeah.
Because we don't hear it all the time.
Actually,
I've heard it. I was like, I got to call him. He's saying bitch all the time.
He said, I wanted to tell you, but
I was like.
And then you mentioned Brad Garrett.
Oh, you mean bitch Carlos?
Yeah, that bitch ass folk.
Bitch, yeah.
You mentioned Brad Garrett. That dude is super fucking cool.
He's helped my whole career. Cindy,
Cindy's great.
She's helped my whole career. She headlined me all through Chicago. People who believe in you and see it and push you, and they don't filter. They tell you, don't do this.
Yeah.
And they don't say ever again, but they did.
Yeah.
But they did. Don't do this. I'll see you tomorrow. Oh, shit. That was an ever again. Oh, shit.
Yeah.
I think I just got the don't ever do it again.
Yeah.
But my whole career, people like that, even Harry Basil is how I got my SAG card. He threw me in a movie. Matt and Joaquin trusting me with the club. 5 years ago, I was so tired, and they're like, everyone's saying you're the guy that might be able to pull it off with your, improv.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay. And, and I thought, this in Vegas, in this little dirty room, this could be the end. All of a sudden, we're downstairs in a $3 million room. Vegas explodes. Awesome. Yeah, people that believe in you, who let you fall and grow.
Yeah.
That only happens so much in stand-up. You can, and now you're at a point, and I tell this to my nephew, if you're really in a competitive, really beautiful art like we are, I have to be the best every night, my best every night. And those years are kind of behind me. I don't have time to fuck around. Yeah. So I get up early, run my dogs, and go over my notes, look at the world, look at where we are, confused as to why protesters look like terrorists, things like that. Just why the society looks like the History Channel, and I feel like the only one who was watching it. God bless Israel. Sorry, was that too much? Free the hostages! Sorry, I can't do this on set. I'll be fired.
No shit.
I don't know who the anti-Semite in the room is, but he's got a swazi on his forehead. But
and then but you're also, because that's another thing too. And then you're at Jimmy Kimmel's as well.
I have a residency of both, which is, I don't even like saying it because it's so crazy.
Yeah.
But man, I'm lucky. I'm lucky, but I'm not lucky. I grind.
Yeah.
And it's there for you.
It's blessed. You're blessed.
Yeah,
I like to think that every gig I get, I'm blessed with the opportunity to get it. You might even catch me praying or talking to God before I go up.
Oh my God! Yeah. Are you kidding?
Because I do that a lot. I'm like, hey, thanks.
Like this doesn't even. It's funny. This cross has Jerusalem printed on it. And I'm raised Catholic, but I'm like part Jewish. I'm part every religion, I think. But that cross is more like, I'm sorry for everything. Let me win one more time. Mr. Butch Bradley, hold on. Let me win one more. Listen, God, I know I can't curse, but fuck the others. I'll do whatever you told me.
For real. You're not lying. All right. Well, I guess, we should just, because we're at 2 minutes left, so let's just end right there, man.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for coming on, man.
Thanks,
I appreciate it.